It's time to come off now. Good morning, Isla here. I am currently sitting beneath a Scots pine tree in a recognised fragment of Scotland's Caledonian pine forest. I'll just show you here. I'm sitting beneath this tree because it's pretty gusty today. I'm at Loch Arkaig. At this site, in partnership with Arkaig Community Forest, we have been supporting the felling of non-native conifers, so lodgepole and Sitka spruce from the site, to facilitate the regeneration of this really special fragment of Scotland's Caledonian pinewood. So these pine trees are genetically descendants of trees which colonised Scotland after the last ice age, and there's only a few, well, there are a number of recognised fragments across Scotland, but they are exactly that, they are fragments, and on the west coast they take longer to grow or regenerate than in the east coast in places like the Cairngorms. So this really was an emergency measure to protect this fragment before the trees are lost, basically, because you can see some of the standing deadwood and fallen deadwood of old Scots pine trees that have been crowded out by non-native conifers. So this site is owned by Arkaig Community Forest, and there's also land surrounding it which is owned by the Woodland Trust, and collectively they manage Loch Arkaig pinewood. So yeah, it's been a great day so far. I've just been chatting to Simon, who is the contractor that is undertaking the sort of low impact traditional harvesting. Last year there were more conventional low impact harvesters out, and yeah, I've just been checking up on the work that they did last year, accompanied by Liam, who is the chair of Arkaig Community Forest's board. It's funny because it keeps on being like a period of really calm, still weather, and then like a huge gust. So I hope you can hear me. I was supposed to be drone mapping or repeating the drone mapping of this site today, but yeah, with the weather conditions it's not possible today. So I'll come back out at some point and do that when the weather's a wee bit better. To be honest, it's really special just sitting here now and seeing the forest after this sort of rescue intervention has started, and to see progress here. Really cool. Let's get out of this plantation. You see, dark and opens up into light. So Liam, what do you do at Arkaig Community Forest? I'll get you facing.
I am a volunteer at Arkaig Community Forest. I'm on the board, I'm the chairperson. Just now those responsibilities include being the HR department, being the health and safety department, line managing some members of staff, chairing meetings and representing the organisation and all that goes with it. So yeah, a little bit of remit there.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit.
So there's also larch here, right? And
yep.
The larch is staying and being taken out slowly by the community whenever they need it, basically, right?
Yeah, so not really taken out, it would be used here. If we
yep.
take the larch down, it would be used here. But
yeah,
you'll see across the site as well, there's larch over in the foreground there. We're keeping larch because it's not as invasive as lodgepole pine or Sitka spruce. It's not really invasive.
Mm-hmm.
It will regenerate, but in a manageable way that we can control.
Yeah.
So it does help with that continual cover.
Yeah.
To keep something in.
Yeah.
And even if it wind blows, that's also sort of habitat.
Can be deadwood.
Habitat. But ideally we'll work with it and we'll use it as a community group to make huts or some sort of accommodation out here at some point would be quite nice, or use it for building a pontoon. There's like lots of options we can use for larch because it's so durable. We can almost make a whole building with it. Sitka spruce and lodgepole pine both would rot. You know, if they're left on the ground, they would start rotting within a couple of years.
Yeah. So you'll see we've been walking over these brush mats, basically where they slice off bits of the trees that are being felled, and then they create roads. So they become floating roads to stop machinery, when the machinery was here, from sinking into the ground and causing, well, worsening compaction basically. So now this will be left as deadwood and sort of go to mulch eventually, and degrade So yeah, as you can see, there's still quite a lot of deadwood being left on the site, but also there are very sort of large open areas within which the habitat can regenerate, so basically can be left to do its thing. After the previous video on our main channel at this site came out, there were a number of questions. One of them was to do with how browsing pressure or deer on the site were being managed, and I posted a feed post a few weeks ago about the results of the herbivore impact assessment, which is how the herbivore impact or browsing pressure on the site is monitored annually, so that they can then use that to inform management. So here's one of the trees that has been freed from being crowded out by non-native conifers. So there's a standard lodgepole pine at the top here. You might recognise this tree from one of the videos which is on our main channel focusing on Arkaig and rainforest restoration. So it's too late for this one. It's just about too late for that one over there.
Wasn't too late for this holly.
Not too late for the holly.
It's been saved. And it'll do well from getting the light in about it.
Aye.
It can put out its shoots.
Look at the bottom of that. Actually, it's.
You can often get this twistiness in them. And it rots that way.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
I've seen that quite a few times in the forest.
Mad that you're still standing.
Oh, this has potentially still got plenty of life left in it now. It's been opened up. You can see though, even the deer have been eating away at these lower shoots.
Yeah.
So we need to get the deer numbers down now.
Yeah. So Liam, are you able to like point out up here, because there's a deer fence running up here, right?
Yeah, so there's a deer fence going right round in a sort of D shape from the loch.
Okay.
And we had issues with this top part where it was a peaty area.
Yep.
And the deer had essentially rutted so much of the peat that the fence was just floating. You know, it wasn't actually in any soil. So we've had to move the fence line further back onto the hill to get it in the ground and ensure that deer can't get in underneath it. So that's happened now. That took place this summer, autumn, and now the fence is secure and we're ready to start bringing the deer numbers down.
Yeah. So the herbivore impact assessment results this year, was it moderate to high? Moderate high in here, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully by the spring we could start getting moderate low.
Yeah. And over in Glenmaley, the herbivore impact assessment results were low.
Yeah.
Weren't they, from this summer?
Yeah, so that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. And that's a place where a deer fence has just been newly put up? Am I right there?
The deer fence has been repaired over the last, 6 or so years.
Yeah.
So even more since the project began, we've been repairing that fence.
Yeah.
So it's had a lot longer to be secured.
It's a bit of a process, eh?
Yeah, it is a process, because you know, there's a lot of fences in still good condition but needs repairs. There's some areas that need new fences. You know, parts where it goes into the loch, water ends put in.
Yeah.
Things like boar will open up the fence, they'll rip holes in it. So we've put in, you know, boar gates, which are essentially logs dangling from chains that are too heavy for deer, but light enough for the boar to push through. So it's creating that boar can move in the landscape without destroying our fences.
Yeah.
And the deer can't get through.
Give this habitat a chance to recover, eh?
Yep.
Taking refuge beneath this holly tree here, just in case. It's calm now, but a gust is going to come through. It can sense when I turn on the camera, and then Mother Nature is like, wind! But I just want to have a wee chat more about the context of how the timber is being extracted here, and also my own personal feelings about planting non-native conifers at sites like this. So if you have a wee look over here, you can see the brash mat that has been used as an extraction route to take the timber down to the loch side there. And then from the loch side, it's on a temporary slipway that'll be removed, temporary, and a custom-made barge which comes across the loch and then extracts the timber over to lorries over there on the north side of the loch, because that's where the road is, and it can be extracted then over to somewhere near Fort William and then turned into stuff like chipboard, because the timber itself is quite poor quality. Why is the timber poor quality? Oh, here's another gust of wind. The site is quite difficult to access, and the team at Arkaig Community Forest and the Woodland Trust have gone to great efforts to make sure that the extraction is as low impact as possible. I think it's fair to say that I'm all for sustainable forestry. I'm all for forestry. In Scotland we need to have a local source of timber. I think it's better, and it obviously has various benefits for our economy, but at this particular site it doesn't appear to me that it's economically viable to plant non-native conifers on a site like this. For economic reasons, like it's at great expense to be shipped across the loch and then hauled out, and then also for ecological reasons. So there are some sites in Scotland that are more ecologically sensitive than others, and this I would class as a highly sensitive site. You've got the Caledonian pinewood, you've got the riparian ancient woodland, you've got the peatland down nearer to the loch. So yeah, definitely not against forestry. So I don't want this project to be kind of painted in that way, but yes, the right tree for the right purpose in the right place. And I'm glad that these trees are being rescued and allowed to breathe again, because yeah, there was Sitka spruce and lodgepole pine here, and lodgepole pine at this site in particular has a needle blight which can be passed on to Scots pine trees and be damaging to them. So it's not only the fact that the non-native conifers grow up really quickly and then crowd out the light from other trees such as Scots pines, which are quite light hungry, it's also the risk of that disease. So it also means that the team here have kind of a certain amount of time to get all of this timber, all the non-native conifers out, because if they don't get all of the non-native conifers out, then they will regenerate, and they'll regenerate faster than our native trees. So there were a few questions as well, and very fair questions about like why aren't the team here thinning the non-native conifers rather than felling the whole lot. And the reasoning behind that is, so yeah, the site is in quite a remote location, and yeah, they've only got a certain amount of time to get these trees out, otherwise they will just regenerate and come back, and then the problem will just repeat. In an ideal world, like, the felling wouldn't need to happen. It's impossible to have a perfect solution in an imperfect situation like this, are my feelings on it anyway. So yeah, I really admire the team here. They're out here doing the work, and it's so cool to see the site now. I mean, it looks like a completely different place to when we were here last November. Rant over. Rant wasn't actually over because I realised that the wind cut me off from explaining why the timber was poor quality. So yeah, there are better ground conditions to plant some trees than others, and it just so happens that the ground conditions weren't well suited to the non-native conifers that they planted at the site, meaning that the timber that was produced at the end of the day wasn't great quality. So there you have it. What's your name? We'll start there.
Yeah, right. My name's Simon, and my company is Blue Green Conservation, and we do low impact extraction and restoration work on forestry sites.
Nice.
Yeah, so we specialise in using traditional methods, basically, like cableways and horse extraction and hand felling and cutting.
Nice. And in spring you'll have, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, Tarzan the
Comtois.
Comtois.
Yeah.
I was going to pronounce it incorrectly. Comtois horse.
Yep, he'll be here, and he'll be working on the slopes behind us there.
Yeah.
It's kind of pause really, because it's quite dry. You know, you've got the bracken at the edge there. So again, we're just taking it off the peat.
And pause is plantation on ancient woodland site, right? Pause is plantation on ancient woodland site.
Yeah,
of course, a gust of wind comes through again.
Yeah. So here, predominantly you got peat, and then pause sites.
Yeah.
Which is generally your riparian and the drier knolls and things. And as you can see up there,
And the Cali pine wood.
you can see where your pause are by the pines and everything.
Yeah.
And previously you would have seen, if you looked at this as a monoculture, and you could see the trees here, how small they are and stunted compared to these right next door.
Yep.
So of course that's because it's deeper peat, it's much wetter, trees don't tend to grow very well in it. So you can kind of look at the site and see the ground conditions from what the trees look like and what they're doing. So Yeah.
Yeah, one of the big questions that was asked by folk that watched the first video was that we should be leaving more timber behind, but there's already going to be a good amount of deadwood left behind, right? Because there's a lot of branches that break off the trees, and if you're to leave all the trees that were felled, it would probably impede regeneration.
I mean, it's just a slow release feed for the later trees, you know, just kind of rots down. It's good to leave a reasonable amount of deadwood at various stages.
Yeah.
You know, on the pause sort of sections, obviously not in the peak, but
yeah,
because it's a natural process. But yeah, too much can be, you know, it just takes so long to, if we left all this, it would take decades to rot away and things to come through. So,
and you've got things like this. You've got the standing,
yeah, we can
the standing
leave a few of
deadwood,
these as
which
well.
is great.
Yeah,
I think standing deadwood seems to be really valuable, because you've got it at standing deadwood stage and then it falls, and you've also got it as sliding deadwood later on.
Yeah, so we're leaving like these snags and things, you know, you'll see holes in them already from
oh yeah,
probably woodpeckers and other things, trying to get at bugs and that. But we'll probably reduce the height of these spar trees at the end, and then do what they call artificial aging and that sort of thing, where we bore into it and drill and do a coronet cut on the top, and so it just helps it to break down, but allows insects and birds and things like that in.
So it creates that diversity in structure, I suppose.
Yeah, just sort of
mimicking an ancient tree.
yeah, but kind of, yeah.
And you're thinking then extraction will happen in spring?
Yeah, just better weather conditions, so
yeah,
less impact.
So I know that some of the site has been, like, timber has been extracted using more conventional but still low impact harvesters. But some sections of the site have been selected to have even lower impact harvesting undertaken by yourself.
That's it.
So what is the main difference between the two methods?
Well, ours is basically, we don't need to put the machines onto the ground, onto the sensitive ground.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like we use cables and horses to take the timber off the land without having to drive on it, essentially.
Sure.
So therefore that reduces ground compaction.
Yeah.
Also reduces damage and disturbance to sort of microhabitats and those sorts of things. And that's essentially it. Yeah. Really. Yeah.
And so on this site it's been selected for kind of like the riparian habitat and more peaty stuff, right?
Yeah, sort of the edge habitat, and down here into the lodgepole, this is our peat area. Yeah. And then this linear strip that runs up the side is more of a pause site, really, so it's drier riparian. Because there's a lot of veteran alders along the bank here, so we want to protect those so we can fell away from those. Yeah. So again, it's just a key habitat. Yeah. If you don't need to take machines on, then all well and good, really. So our systems allow you to do that. Yeah. So often the ground will recover much quicker as well as a result. And
then with the extraction with a logging horse as well, I've read in some papers that say the actual hoof marks of the horse's feet can be good for tree regeneration.
Yes, yeah. The whole action of it, including actually tushing the logs, i.e. dragging them out, just lightly scarifies the surface. So
it's kind of just like having natural grazers in, I suppose, like big.
Yeah, basically.
Like
yeah, that's exactly that. It stimulates that. Yeah. Particularly because, you know, this was once monoculture, so it's quite a deep needle layer. Yeah. So again, that sort of gentle extraction just disturbs that enough. Yeah. But seeds can then directly seed into the mineral soils below them, so then you can, again, it just aids restoration, faster restoration, basically.
That's us finished up our visit here today, so we're going to leave the guys to get on with the felling works. And yeah, they're hardy. They're staying out here in tents when they're out logging, because it is so inaccessible. And there's a composting toilet further up that has been built by the community as well, Arkaig Community Forest. So yeah, there's quite a few guys working on this project, so it's nice to see like a really ecologically sensitive, low impact felling job going on that's also giving people sustainable jobs. So it might not be an ideal situation, but I'm pretty happy that it's going to come out with a good outcome. And thanks to our members at Mossy for helping us to support projects like this one. It's going to be really special coming out to this site next year once all the works have finished, to hopefully, when it's not as windy, do the drone mapping, and yeah, to continue coming out here as time goes on and herbivore pressure is reduced, and see this temperate rainforest habitat regenerating across this hillside and the non-native conifers kept in check. So I'll check back in with you guys on this project next time I visit. It'll probably be early next year when Simon comes back out with Tarzan the horse, and yeah, time to get back on the boat. Hopefully it's not too choppy. Cheers, bye.